What's the creepiest/scariest, not necessarily the most famous or most gruesome, unsolved mystery?
Number 1. Maura Murray. Maura Murray was a college student at UMass Amherst, studying nursing. On February 9, 2004, Maura emailed her professors, stating she would miss classes that week due to a death in the family. She then drove toward Vermont, but crashed her car into a snowbank sometime after 7 p.m. in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A local man returning home from work noticed her standing by her car, seemingly unhurt, but stressed, and offered to call AAA for her. Maura refused. Minutes later, the man called emergency services, but upon arrival less than 20 minutes later, Maura had disappeared. Bottles of alcohol were found in the car, but the man claimed Maura was not intoxicated. It was a very cold, snowy night, and Maura would have most likely been on foot. The man and his wife noticed no other vehicle drive by, yet she was never found, and the death in the family was discovered to be a lie. Friends at college also noted that in the days before her disappearance, she had suffered some kind of mini breakdown at work that appeared family-related. Number 2. The Texarkana Phantom. The Texarkana Phantom was a killer who committed 5 murders in Texarkana, TX in 1946. His targets were mainly couples on lovers' lanes, but she, also murdered a married couple as they relaxed at home. 3 others were injured in his attacks as well. These attacks were all committed between February 22 and May 3 before they stopped. There was a prime suspect in the case, Yael Swinney, a local thief, but his wife, who led the police to believe he was the killer, refused to testify against him and he was never charged. Number 3. Dennis Martin. On June 14, 1969, Dennis Martin went out hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains with his father, brother and friends. The children ran into the woods and hid from their father, planning to jump out and scare him, but Dennis did not jump out with the other boys. When his father went to get him, he found no sign of his son. The only lead in the case was the testimony of members of the Key family, who were hiking about 6 miles away from the spot where Dennis went missing. The family claimed to have heard a boy scream, and then seen a wild-looking mountain man walking close by, with something slung over his shoulder. This testimony was dismissed, however, as it was deemed too far away to have any connection. Perhaps the strangest aspect of all is the level of attention the case received. The FBI, National Guard and military special forces showed up to search, instead of simply local and state police. The obvious suggestion is that Dennis was kidnapped, but his brother and friends were not far away when he went missing, and likely would have heard him scream, or heard some kind of struggle. The mountain man the Key family saw was making an awful lot of noise, and the boys would have heard him. On the other hand, where could a 6-year-old boy have gone in a span of about 5 minutes? Number 4. Brandon Swanson. In 2008, 19-year-old Brandon Swanson was driving home somewhere in rural Minnesota, when he went off the road and drove into a ditch. Unhurt, he called his parents for a ride, but being in the middle of nowhere, he couldn't pinpoint where he was exactly. His parents couldn't find him, and they got back on the phone with him while he tried to get to a better location. Brandon saw lights in the distance that he thought were from a nearby town. Suddenly, Brandon yelled, "Oh shit!" and the call cut off. He was never seen or heard from again, despite an extensive search. Some people believe he fell into a nearby river and drowned, but his body was never found there, and all calls to his cell phone rang, meaning he didn't take his phone with him into the river. And yet, his phone was never found, either. It was also revealed that Brandon was about 20 miles further away than he originally thought. Number 5. Mysterious taxi cell phone. In Fiji in 2014, a student got into a taxi and found a cell phone left on the seat. He made the fateful decision of looking at the contents of the phone, and found a video of a group of men being murdered from the videographer's perspective, while someone off camera yelled, "Shoot! Shoot!" repeatedly in Mandarin. No bodies were ever found, and the incident was never reported. Except by the student, who posted the video on YouTube. The men who committed the murders even turned the camera to themselves after the deed was done and revealed the registration number of one of 4 ships in the video. The boat was revealed as a Taiwanese fishing ship, but that was about as far as the investigation got. The man who owned the boat apparently couldn't remember who he rented it to, and the Fijian police were suspiciously unwilling to investigate the murders. Let's not forget that Taiwan is very far from Fiji. How the cell phone holding footage of the crime ended up in a taxi cab in an island nation hundreds of miles across the ocean, and why someone would be so careless with such information at stake, is the true mystery in my mind. Number 6. Blair Adams. Blair Adams was an average 30-something Canadian man from British Columbia, until the summer of 1996, when he began displaying erratic and paranoid behavior. Convinced someone was after him, He withdrew all the money from his bank account and drove to the US border. However, he was denied entry, because young, single men with stacks of cash don't usually elicit the nothing to see here response in border agents. So, he went to the airport and bought a flight ticket to Germany, paying the price for a one-way ticket, even though a round-trip ticket would have saved him money. He changed his mind almost immediately, got a refund on the ticket and rented a car instead, trying once again to enter the US. This time, he got through, and promptly flew from Seattle to Washington, D.C. This choice was particularly strange, because Adams' family confirmed he had no other family or friends in the eastern United States. Upon arrival in D.C., Adams rented another car and drove to Knoxville, Tennessee, where he drove to a gas station complaining that his car wouldn't start. The attendant discovered he had the wrong keys, and yet Adams had obviously managed to drive the car there. Finally, Adams drove to a nearby hotel and paid for a room, but left the hotel as soon as he got the room key. Sometime later, he was found dead in a parking lot near the hotel, pants down and defensive wounds all over his body. Police noted that his pants appeared to have been removed forcibly, and not by Adams. The autopsy report revealed the cause of death to be one single punch to the stomach.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure to subscribe and click the like button. When the stories run out, make sure to flip the tape over to continue. Adios, amigos.